Hi everyone, this is Michelle. Today is July 16, 2025. I'd like to offer a quick tip about the ICF credentialing exam. I took and passed the ICF credentialing exam yesterday, July 15, 2025. I wanted to list myself as a mentor coach in the ICF Mentor Coach Registry. When I first became a PCC level coach, ICF was using the knowledge assessment, and I needed to take their newest PCC and MCC level credentialing exam for my mentor coach designation. I had two options to take the proctored exam, either at a Pearson VUE testing center or at home. I opted to go to Johnson County Community College to their testing center to take the exam. And here was my experience with the exam at the testing center. I left my purse and cell phone in a locker. I was allowed a dry erase marker and laminated note paper. And the center also provided a set of earplugs, which I used. It was very quiet, and there were at least 3 other people in the testing center at the time. I would add that if you choose to go to a testing center, go online and read reviews first about experiences others have had with the particular testing center before you select that one. How is the exam format? I read the instructions. There are 2 sections with 39 questions in each section with a 10-minute break in between. I had 83 minutes for the first section of 39 questions and 83 minutes for the second section of 39 questions, for a total of 166 minutes for the answering of the questions. I had about 8 minutes left on the first section. I took the 10-minute break, and then I had about 30 minutes left on the second section. I did flag for review at least 5 questions total between both sections, and you can read the instructions. I went back and reviewed them, the questions that I had flagged, but I don't think I changed my answers. How did I approach the exam content? During the actual exam, the questions are in a scenario format. They were like stories to me. The questions are not labeled based on whether the question falls under the content of the ICF Code of Ethics or one of the 4 domains of the 8 core competencies. Since you've probably already taken the ICF free online tutorial practice test, you're aware the questions are formatted in scenarios. The scenarios then ask you to select the best and worst response by selecting the response and dragging and dropping it to either best response or worst response. You may not have taken an exam like this format before if you're used to multiple choice. So you definitely want to practice the free online tutorial. I approached it by reading the scenario first and reading each response before I selected the best and the worst. The answers honestly did not always jump out at me. Here's what I noticed that I wanted to share, which might be helpful. Acknowledge, ask, invite. What's the difference? There were several questions where I had to differentiate between the coach acknowledging, asking, or inviting. These were the questions I found to be the most challenging. This is in my own words. Acknowledge. The client has expressed a strong emotion. The best response is usually for the coach to acknowledge this. If you were observing this in practice, acknowledging would be obvious. In reading the responses, it was a bit more challenging to know if acknowledging, asking, or inviting was the best response. Next, I'll share in my own words when ask is the most likely best response. At the PCC and MCC level, the coach is going above and beyond, asking for clarification or summarizing what the client has said. That is something the coach would do. However, the best response might be different. The best response is asking the client, when the coach is asking open-ended questions to evoke self-awareness in the client. So if your options are between asking to clarify or summarize and asking an open-ended question to evoke self-awareness in the client, depending on the scenario, usually it's asking to evoke self-awareness in the client, asking open-ended question. When invite is the most likely best response instead of ask or acknowledge, this is when the coach would invite the client to explore the client's progress or the client's learning to facilitate client growth. For me, invite is almost like a challenge the coach extends to the client, an invitation to explore what the client has not explicitly stated, but implicitly stated as one of the client's goals. Overarching themes from the stories. For me, I appreciate the storytelling aspect of the scenarios. If you think of the scenarios as stories, the way I did, look for overarching themes. So for one, clients are responsible for their own progress and their own goals, their own hero's journey. Second, sponsors are sometimes put in an antagonistic role in the scenarios or the stories, since the sponsor's goal may differ or even be in direct conflict with the client goal. Next, coaches continually refer to coaching agreements and previously discussed goals while facilitating client growth by inviting the client to a challenge. I thought of this as the coach inviting the client to a challenge quest on the client's hero journey. From an assessor's perspective, this competency of evoking awareness for the client is not always easily demonstrated or observed in coaching sessions, except where coaches know the client expects and wants them to challenge them. Coaches are on their own hero's journey. This is another overarching theme that emerged for me from the scenarios. Coaches are on their own hero's journey, sometimes during the entire coaching relationship or coaching agreement, and sometimes during the individual coaching session. Coaches pause, remain silent, maintain presence, take deep breaths, process their own emotions like sadness or anger while remaining client-centered. Those are my takeaways from having just completed the ICF credentialing exam and passing it yesterday, July 15, 2025. Remember to always check the ICF website for the most up-to-date information. And feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in partnering with me as a mentor coach.